We all know that bass fishing during the hot summer months can be a real grind. Bites are definitely at a premium, but lately I've been on an excellent pattern that has caught me quite a few fish. If you've been around for the last few videos, you know that I've been using very small topwater lures to take advantage of those bass chasing minnows. We're going to talk about how you can take advantage of those bass on your fishery, how I'm using those topwater lures in great detail, where I'm looking to throw them, what my retrieves are, and more. Plus, we're also going to look at other ways you can take advantage of this same pattern without necessarily using topwater. Stick around, we're going to talk all about it. Got him. Whoa! That one's running. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing. And as I said in the opening, summer bass fishing is hard. It's the hardest fishing all year long. That's why so many anglers just pack it in and wait for the fall whenever the turnover happens. But if we can establish a pattern, then that changes everything. Like we've talked about so many times before on this channel. Fish patterns, not spots. A lot of anglers get into that lure-itis, don't we? Where we want to just change lures and change lures and change lures instead of doing what we really need to be doing to figure out what those fish want. And once you do figure out what those fish want and you start catching them over and over again, that's a pattern. And if you can repeat that pattern in different places of the lake, well, then you've really found something special. And that's what I've been doing with these little topwaters like this. This is my new head and torpedo. I've had to go out and get a few more because the ones that I had were just so chewed up, and I ended up losing one of them. So I had to go out and replace them. They're not expensive. This one is in a G shad finish is what this is called. It's kind of got a little pearlescent to it, a little bit of shine. And this guy right here has really already paid dividends for me. And we're going to get into that in just a minute. So how am I establishing these patterns? What am I looking for? What are the signs that I'm seeing out on the water that let me know this is the way to go? Well, we're going to talk about that. But before we get started, if you like what I do here, click that subscribe button down below. We'd really love to have you. And while you're down there, give this video a like. And if you haven't, check out my Patreon. It's a place where we can interact at a more personal level. I put polls up there. I put videos up there that you just don't see here. The link is in the pinned comment and in the description. Go check it out. So what am I looking for? What exactly did I see that was putting me on this pattern? Well, for the past few years, I watch those bass when the shad hatch from the shad spawn, and then later on as the bluegill fry hatch from the bluegill spawn. And you'll watch the bass chase these huge swarms of fry all over the lake. And they're just busting on that, and they will invariably ignore any lure that I throw. Any lure that a lot of different anglers throw. They're just not interested because all they have to do is basically swim around with their mouth open and they get gorged on millions of tiny little fry. And that pattern, that tendency continues all through the summer until right up at the end of fall. Now, it just doesn't happen on the big lake. It's happening on all the lakes around here and many lakes across the country. You'll see those fry, and you'll see them in numerous clouds, huge clouds that the bass are just going crazy on. Now, a lot of times you're not going to see them busting on the surface, but you will see those minnows scooting across underneath the water. You can see them from the bank. You can see them whether you're standing on a boat. It does not matter. They're going deep and they're going shallow. They're cruising all over the lake, just trying to get away from those bass. However, there are ways that we can get bites. On the big lake, I am noticing that the bass bust up, make a splash, and then they're gone. As I've said before, if I throw in the water in that area where those bass have just busted, chances are I've missed that fish. It's gone. That means those bass are moving. They are cruising along, swimming after those fleeing fry. So what do? Well, I've been sitting on the deck of my boat and waiting for a splash. And as soon as I see it, then I fire it in there that gives me a much better chance of being able to catch fish because, again, they're moving quickly and it's paid dividends. I've caught a lot of fish doing exactly that. But now, as those bait fish are getting bigger, we're seeing the typical bass tendency to ball that bait up, to work around it, get it into a ball, and then just feed on it, which is where you see the bass just rolling and busting and boiling over the surface. And that's when the fun times really kick in, because then you have options. Again, this is still working, and I'm using it in the same exact way that I've been using it. As a matter of fact, let's head out to the water and I'll show you just exactly how I'm working those. All right, when I'm fishing one of these little head and torpedoes, I have it obviously on a spinner setup, a light spinner setup. BFS would also work. I cast it out there and that thing will cast quite a ways, especially with the wind at your back. I let it sit, I roll it to slack a little bit, and I'm just tapping that rod, giving it a few cranks, tapping that rod. And that's all I'm doing. You can see it spit just a little bit, and then I let it sit. I'm not doing like that and giving it really big yanks. I'm just giving it little taps, tapping the slack out of the line. Sometimes I'll walk it like that, just keep tapping, 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 tapping. And then I'll let it sit. And then just tap some more. That's all I'm doing. I'm not doing the straight retrieve. I'm just doing little taps, a lot like I fish a popper. It casts quite a ways, especially when you got the wind at your back. Again, let it sit for a few seconds, let those rings dissipate, reel in your slack, and then just cart 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, you know, and just let it kind of sit there. Just be random with it. Just bouncing that rod tip and tapping the slack out. That's all you have to do, just like you would if you were working a popper. You know, if you were working a lot of other similar baits. I do this a lot with a boy howdy or a devil's horse or something like that. I'll do it with a pencil popper. And then sometimes I'll just start cranking it a little bit and then just tapping it as I'm cranking. And a lot of times you'd be amazed at just exactly how huge the blow-ups are that you can get. So, fairly simple, fairly straightforward. You can see how I'm working it. It might be unconventional, it might be unorthodox, but when it comes to those types of topwater lures, whether it's a small popper, whether it's the Booyah Prank, whether it's this head and torpedo, I just don't work them on a straight retrieve. And these are called a torpedo for a reason, because they're meant to bubble through the water, almost like an early version of a whopper plopper, right? Where they leave that bubble trail behind them. And I've caught a few fish doing that, but I catch way more bass working them the way that I showed you. Now, why are the bass so amped up? Why does this bite just keep going and going for weeks now? The simple answer is chaos. All that chaotic motion, those bass get in a frenzy, right? It's like sharks in the water with blood in the water, where you get all these small bait fish and the bass are just trying to go at anything that they can. They're trying to just attack anything that they think is a target. And when this is sitting on top of the water and it already looks like it's wounded and it looks like it's just an easy meal, that's what gets attacked. And I'm catching nice fish. That's why that pattern is still working. And if anything, it's only intensifying. So bear that in mind. Something like a small chug bug, something like a popper, something like those head and torpedoes are all working amazingly well. You might even be able to use something like a floating worm to do something very similar, especially if you have a highly pressured fishery. Throw that worm out there, let it sit. You know, if you see bass busting in the area, if you see them chasing those minnows, work it in twitches, leave it sit, work it in twitches, and then leave it sit. I'm telling you, you're going to get some nice bites doing that. You're going to get those bass attacking that lure because they're already in a frenzy. But at the beginning of the video, I talked about using other methods. And there's another method that's really coming into play. As those bass get more active, as those bait fish get a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, and the bass start to ball them up into huge herds to start feeding on them, there is one bait that may actually be better than topwater, and that is a jerkbait. I was able to tie on a jerkbait, and when I saw those bass busting, I was able to fire this in there and work it through there. And I would just snap, 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 and then leave it sit. And then snap, snap, and then leave it sit. And I'm telling you what, I was getting amazing strikes. You look out over the water, you see all those busting fish, and you see all that water boiling and roiling everywhere, and you know those bass are just having a field day. If it hasn't happened on your fishery yet, I'm telling you, it's coming, and it's coming sooner rather than later, because it's been here for weeks. So it's had chance to move northward as those fish hatch, as those fry get hatched, and as those bass get on them. And I'm telling you, this is another great alternative. And even something like a Rebel minnow, something like a CC shad from Cotton Cordell, another small type of minnow jerkbait, is another great way to work it from the bank. You can get amazing fish. Last time I was out there, I was taking full advantage of what I was seeing. I saw some bass busting around me, and well, this did all the work I needed. Hang on, I'm going right, I see you. That's one fish going after a lot of them. He's not big either. It was one fish. Ooh, no, it wasn't. Oh, that's a good one. Holy cow. Wow, he hit it like it owed him money.
First jerkbait of the year.
Well, first jerkbait fish in a good while. Wow, look at that.
That's beautiful.
That's a nice chunk.
Good job.
Look at the belly on that guy. Mama called it. But Mama always does call it. I just need to stop doing what I'm doing and start listening. But that was right in the middle of that bust up. You know, jerkbait's good for that.
Just saying that.
And I'm hoping I got that bust up on camera. But he had all three hooks.
That's a beautiful fish.
Oh, he's very, very tummied up. Very tummied up. Come on now. There we go. Oh yeah, look at that belly. Look at that fat belly. All right, beautiful fish. We thank you so much for playing. We're going to put you down in the water. Thank you. Oh, there he goes. Very, very active. All right, let's see if we can't keep that train rolling. So a very nice fish, and you saw how fat that thing was. And the way these bass are attacking my lure, they're not just slurping it up. They're coming up out of the water to attack my topwater lures. They're hitting my jerkbait like it owes them money, like they are seriously trying to damage it. That means those bass are very excited. It means that they're very active, and it means that they are in full-on feeding frenzy mode. And it doesn't take much to take advantage of that. I'm telling you, this is a real workable pattern, and it just takes a little bit to find these bass. So where am I looking for them at? Well, I look for certain signatures on the lake. First of all, a little bit of current is not going to hurt. It does not have to be current blowing toward the bank. I'm not necessarily looking for current blowing toward the bank. All I'm looking for is some water movement one way or the other. The direction is pretty much irrelevant, because there might be minnows in that area, but if you don't have wind, that's really going to kill the bite. If you don't have wind and current, it's really going to kill the bite. So I'm basically looking for, the first spots I'm looking for are shallow water. That's where I'm looking for the easiest way, because the shallow water is just an easier bite. Sure, I've caught some out deep. Sure, I've been able to work them in 20 and 25 feet of water, but in 5 feet of water or 6 feet of water, it's been a bit easier time. So if you're a bank angler, that's great news. If you see those bass busting around you, I'm telling you what, it's a lot easier for you to catch them because you've got a lot less water to attract them up through and a lot less competition for their attention. So I'm looking for current. I'm looking for wind. It doesn't matter what. I'm looking more for shallow water. And obviously, if you can see bass busting, then that's going to be the main ingredient. If I'm going to an area and that water's dead calm or in deeper water, chances are I'm going to move pretty quickly. Believe it or not, steep banks have not worked as well as hydrilla flats. Along those hydrilla flats, because the minnows get in there and they try to hide. But along a steep bank or an open area, the minnows don't have as much places where they can get away from because they're trying to get away. That plays a big part of it. So near the bank and current, that's key. If you've got some wind, you've got some current, it's really going to activate that bite. So pay attention to that. Again, it doesn't matter which way. Those bass busting, and go with the colors that are going to be representative of what those bass are feeding on. Now, I was working some really stained water because we've had a lot of thunderstorms lately. So that's why I went with this chrome. So it really stood out. It was making a lot of noise underwater, and I would give it a pause for those bass to find it. I'm telling you, we didn't have 6 to 8 inches of visibility, and they were still crushing that thing. Again, same thing with this. It's got some good visibility, and it's making a whole bunch of noise on the surface. So when you put those things together, I'm telling you, you can have an amazing day out on the water. I've probably caught more fish this summer than I have in years, and it's all because of that pattern. And once we get on that pattern and we can repeat it, well, then our bass fishing just got a lot easier. So there you have it. Some super simple, easy tips that will put you on a reliable summer pattern. You'll be able to repeat this every single time you go out to the water. And I'm telling you what, it's a great way to catch fish and turn summer from the hardest time of the year to one of the easiest times of year. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.